We're back. This is Renovate and Build with Jim and Sandra, powered by Fair Trade Works.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Happy Saturday morning and welcome to our house. At least that's the way we like to think of it every Saturday morning for the next 60 minutes. Thanks for joining us here on Renovate and Build. My name is Sandra Lummis, and let me introduce you to my co-host, Fair Trade Works founder and president, Jim Perkins. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Sandra. I was just getting a nod from our producer Wayne to put my phone down actually, because it's bad enough I have to drive hands-free these days, but apparently now I have to radio host hands-free. I'm actually enjoying the interaction with our listeners and hearing the homeowners' questions. What Dwayne is forgetting, I actually use my phone for research, and I was actually just reading that total spending associated with residential renos and repairs has more than doubled in the last 2.5 decades.
Incredible.
In the last 25 years, it more than doubled. Last year, Canadians actually spent more than $64 billion on renovations and repairs. Unbelievable. And that's just residential construction. That's not commercial or office building or infrastructure, things like that. And that's a lot of money, and that's a huge amount of questions and logistics. And that's what this show is all about. You know, when we first considered hosting the show, our main concern was the workload of preparing for the show and coming on the show, as well as running the new company. But the overriding factor that made us make our decision was to create a place and a trusted source where home and business owners can really safely ask construction questions, and ours to be a really true resource for construction information.
Yeah, all kinds of interesting topics.
Yeah, and that's exactly how Renovate and Build was born. And that's why I'm thrilled to be sitting here on this weekend answering your questions and sharing construction development related questions. So please don't hesitate to ask us big or small questions. We're here for the whole marketplace, and that's very important to us.
And there is one more reason why we call in the experts as well. Actually, Nicola Campbell from Walter Homes joins us right now on the phone. I know we already have listener questions lined up for. Good morning, Nicola.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Nicola. Welcome to the show. I know real estate is really busy at the time of year for you and your team, so we really appreciate you taking the time out to come on the show and speak with us. We're going to be getting into market-related questions with you in a moment, but first I was hoping to be able to ask you a couple of listener questions.
Absolutely, fire away.
So, Nicola, Sergey, one of our listeners, said that he was really excited to hear last week that you were coming up on the show because he wanted to ask your advice on the most affordable community that you believe he can and his family can move to. He actually has 2 young children, ages 1 and 3, and this will be their first home purchase ever, so congratulations to you guys. Sergey works in Burnaby, but he said he's willing to commute to buy his family the right home.
Okay. Well, without knowing a few more specifics, it's a little tough to answer, but generally there's a number of factors that new home buyers should be considering when they're starting their search. Our general starting point is, what Sergey and his family can afford or what they're looking to spend. Obviously, bracket or pricing is one of the biggest considerations for new home buyers getting into the market, and 3-bedroom home in Burnaby may be in a very different price bracket than in North Shore, for example.
Absolutely, yes.
So after we would look at pricing, we need to figure out what are his must-haves, the things that he really couldn't live without. So perhaps that's the number of bedrooms and bathrooms in the home. Perhaps it's in-suite laundry that is a deal breaker, as we say, or proximity to rapid transit if he's considering a commute. But we would look over and evaluate what those things are that are most important to him and his family, and then start looking in an area that would allow him to have a lot of options.
Interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Sergey, for your question. Nicola, Sergey's question is just one of many I'm sure you and your team get regarding value in the city, especially with BC home sales in June heated up another 3%. But the truth is that we should be happy with our homes having maintained this incredible value in the West, right?
I couldn't agree more. Our market is certainly influenced by global perspectives, but we do in Vancouver function independently of the rest of the country. So we see that we have other factors contributing to our demand in the market. So immigration is one, the fact that Vancouver is quite landlocked. Tourism, we have a lot of people wanting to retire here and so forth. So not to mention the fact that Vancouverites and our own population growth. So it just seems to be that the areas are filling up, so to speak, and so we're seeing more pushing out into rural areas and a lot of growth with respect to more condos, townhouses, and being built, and a bit of a shift happening there. But I would say one of the best things about our unique position here is that our growth allows for the buyers to have a really high degree of confidence and that the market won't destabilize overnight, which isn't necessarily true for other parts of the country. And, we add to that our tight banking practices here, and it makes investors and homeowners feel very safe coming into the market here, which contributes to that growth that we're seeing year after year, which is overall making everybody benefit.
Well, that's good news. So what do you think the general feel right now is out in the real estate market, Nicola? Like, what are the sought-after properties in the region?
Again, there's a pretty wide variance. I would say that overall the market is highly active. It's been really active all year. The summer has been one of the most active summers that I've seen in my 10-year career. And I'd say that there's two areas where I see that the most. Under $500,000, because there is a property transfer tax credit up to $475,000 for new home buyers. Mm-hmm. And then we're also really seeing a lot of demand in the detached home market across the board and across areas. And that really is a factor of the number of homes on the market being lower than the demand, which is continues to drive the activity level in the market. And the third factor would be the interest rates being so low. I think my mortgage broker said that she could get it 2.99 on a 5-year fix, which is absolutely incredible. And it just is really letting people get into the market and make all those payments go more to principal than interest and so forth, but also that the payments themselves are lower.
Yeah. Nicola, as you know, I'm from Europe and have predicted some time that the past here in Canada and the US is not necessarily a forecast for what we can expect. When you're dealing with internationals coming here from more expensive countries, what in your experience, what has been their reaction to the price point of the homes here?
Well, I think that of course there's always a little bit of hesitation in the degree of growth that Vancouver sees. But those international buyers that are coming from cities that are more expensive than us, they're not so affected by the price points themselves. They may have some comments about the level of growth, but ultimately they see that there is a ton of value here, especially relative to their own city. For those that are from international cities that aren't as developed as Vancouver, or where their pricing isn't where ours at, there is a bit of a adjustment period, so to speak. But certainly they do ultimately come to see the value and feel that it is a safe place to invest and a safe place to buy with the history that we've had. Because the real only downturn that we've seen in the market was in 2008. And despite a lot of predictions that we would be heading in a backwards direction in terms of growth, we've gone in the opposite direction since. So, yeah, I mean, Vancouver just really is a very unique city across the country in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's even a unique country globally, right? Like just with what we have to offer and the upside still to come, and people moving here to do business and live and bring their families. And yeah, it's just, I believe, coming from the British markets where it is terribly expensive and, really not much to offer, coming from the British markets to the Canadian markets, I believe that Canadian real estate is, and I always get in trouble for saying this, but I believe Canadian real estate is still terribly undervalued. I don't know any other city in the world on par with all the pros that Vancouver has, where you can kind of live beachfront, ocean view, 10 minutes to the CBD downtown Vancouver for $2 or $3 million. To me, it's still a gift in my eyes. Right?
You guys know there's a few people shuddering at home, but I agree.
Yeah, it's
well, I have a client that I'm working with right now who has a I think, 700 square foot flat in London,
Right.
in pretty central London, and I believe the ticket on that was £900,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
Does
exactly.
that sound right?
That sounds
Yeah.
exactly right. And but it's
Yeah.
like downtown London is like the flats as we call them over there are absolutely tiny, and they're multi-million Canadian dollar properties, right? And they're literally shoeboxes stuffed in downtown London. Add the living expenses, add commuting, you name it, parking. It's all metered. It's the cost of living
Yep.
is just absolutely extortionate, right? So. Okay, so Nicola, we've been talking a lot about home renovations, and with a shortage of vacant land in Vancouver, many people, or some people, are now having to, kind of resign themselves to the fact that they're going to buy a home and then after that adapt it or customize it to their liking. How are you helping sellers mentally prepare potential buyers to see the vision in their properties?
Well, the number one thing that we do whenever we meet with a client who's looking to put their home on the market is to prep them for a stager or an interior decorator to come through, and not necessarily to make it look like Home and Garden magazine, but certainly to allow a buyer to come into the space and be able to see themselves in the space and be able to see uncluttered room sizes and wall space and surface area so that they can then start to get creative in their own minds. And generally speaking, the less furniture, the less distraction that there is in the space, the easier it is for a buyer to do that. So we have stagers and interior decorators that we work with to help our sellers try and see it from a different perspective and reconsider how they might arrange the space to allow for the maximum experience from a buyer's perspective, so to say.
Yeah, because people really do want a kind of a clean slate, right? And they also, I've noticed when we're viewing so many homes or being in so many people's homes doing construction, is that I always find that the main rooms are really well kind of decorated and prepared, and then people will run out and buy a mirror from IKEA or something and put it on top of a cabinet. It's, just kind of throw together like half stage the rooms, and it always seems it's people open the doors and they just kind of let down to what they see, right? So having a nice flow through, unlocking potential, and like you said, just letting people to be able to see that they can really make these homes there.
And I mean, the thing is, for a buyer is in that space for, depending on the size, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Those first impressions, right?
If you are not driving that opportunity to them, which is ultimately our job, then you lose your chance. And so that's what all the preparation that goes into a listing is all about, is to make it as easy and as easy for the buyer just to come in and help see the space. And then certainly while the buyer's walking through, my associates and I will be making suggestions, and not too much obviously to overwhelm, but we see so much property, we see the potential very quickly, and it may be a bit more of a difficult path to follow for somebody who is just looking at their first place.
Right.
And if anybody heard that beeping, that was actually Sandra's heart monitor. I think it went off because we talked about the undervalue of
$900,000 flats.
Yeah. Okay. So no, she's still alive here. So no, just letting you guys know we're safe.
Nicola, at Walter Homes, I know you're all about the experience. Like Fair Trade at Fair Trade Works, we try to create a client care cycle that makes people want to use you for the rest of your life. You almost have like a professional or a customer for life. Can you just kind of share your team's philosophy on what you believe creates that really enjoyable real estate experience?
Absolutely. We're first and foremost dedicated to our clients. Our prime directive is to make sure that our buyers and our sellers are achieving their goals financially, are achieving their goals from a personal level as well, and make sure that we are holding their hand from start to finish. And this speaks to the type of business that we get now. So our business is about 80 to 90% referral business from past clients or clients that we are currently working with that are referring us to friends and family and so forth. And that's how we want to cultivate our business. We never set out to be the biggest out there. We want to be the best, and so that's what we're working towards.
Well, we know you're busy on Saturday mornings, basically 7 days a week, so we're going to let you run today. We thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great
Appreciate it.
Saturday. Okay.
You too.
We've been speaking with Nicola Campbell, Realtor for Walter Homes. You can learn more about Walter Homes on their website at walterhomes.ca. That's WALTER homes.ca. And you can also give Nicola a call to ask her questions personally. Her number is 604-767-4600.
And coming up right after the break, smart locks on our weekly feature of Product Face-Off.
There's still lots more ahead. This is Renovate and Build, powered by Fair Trade Works with Jim and Sandra.